Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I came to Congress, I owned a road construction business, so I know firsthand how dangerous it can be working in construction zones. We actually put the lines on the road that saved lives. You know, I always used to say, you never read in the paper the names of the people whose lives you've saved. There's only so much signage and protection that you can offer your employees to protect them from the constant threat of distracted drivers and speeding trucks and vehicles. The data speaks for itself. According to FHWA in 2014, 119 roadway construction workers lost their lives in work zone crashes. In 2015, 700 people were killed in work zones as a result of motor vehicle crashes. Just last month, I was personally touched by such an incident. Michael J. Friendy, who I had hired when I had my business, he was a 41-year-old from my hometown in Hazleton. He was setting up a construction zone on Interstate 81 when he was struck by a car and killed instantly. I knew Mike for over 20 years and was incredibly saddened by his death. My thoughts and prayers continue to be with his friends and his family and his co-workers as they grieve this incredible loss. Acting Deputy Administrator Weidlich, in your opinion, what steps can this committee take to combat work zone crashes and improve the safety of roadway construction workers and contractors so that we don't lose more talented and hardworking and good people like Michael Friendy?
Congressman, you're correct with stating that the dangers of work zones today, especially with the increases in volumes of traffic, night work that's going on, and the more work that's going on out on our roadways because we're trying to rehabilitate and reconstruct our infrastructure. Federal Highway Administration works in many different ways to improve work zones and to work with our stakeholders, whether it be states and locals or others. First, we have the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which includes minimum standards for work zone safety, signing, and buffer zones, and those types of elements within a particular work zone. We work on deployment of technologies, for example, intrusion alarms that would alarm workers when the work zone is actually intruded by a particular vehicle. A big part also is awareness and public education. Work Zone Awareness Week, we work with AASHTO and ATSA and get the word out because work zones are not only dangerous for workers, they're also dangerous for those vehicles that are going through it. As you stated, it was over 500 motor vehicle fatalities that occurred in work zones also on an annual basis. In working with this committee, I would hope that availability of those funds for deployment of those types of innovations and for education and awareness about work zones would continue.
Yeah. We got to do a lot more work because the only thing that was separating them from live traffic were rubber cones. Back in 2015, when this committee was working on a highway bill, I pushed for language to be included that would reform motor carrier safety scores to make sure that they were more reflective of a company's safety record. Just last month, the National Academies of Science published a report as required by the FAST Act detailing their findings on the Compliance Safety Accountability Program, more commonly known as CSA. Deputy Administrator Jefferson, does FMCSA believe that the findings of this report require the safety measurement system to be replaced with a more defensible statistical model? And if so, what are the agency's specific plans and timetable for implementing such a corrective action plan?
Congressman Barletta, FMCSA supports the findings of the National Academies of Science, and we're grateful to the volunteers who worked on that study. It's our intent to provide a corrective action plan to Congress within 120 days of submitting that report. We are also working with the national academies to identify strategies for implementing those recommendations. They've given us a roadmap, if you will, of ways to improve SMS. And it's our intent to follow through on that. And so as we go through the process of developing an implementation strategy that will get us to a better result. And so we appreciate the work that they've done, and also our intent to include industry and other stakeholders in the process as we go along as well. And of course, keeping Congress aware of our actions as we proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.